So it's Anti-Corruption and Transparency Week this week, indeed, from the 4th to the 9th of December, symbolizing 6 days of zero tolerance for corruption. A recent corruption barometer index ran Ghana the 70th most corrupt country out of 170 countries. We just did slightly better. There were 100 more countries that did worse, I guess. Indeed, this has led to the NCC's public perception on corruption, accountability, environmental governance research. And one of the things that you would hear is that we're being encouraged this week to raise awareness on corruption. But how else do we do it beyond the conversations that we've had? So let me just introduce to you my guest. We'll talk a lot more about the week, what we're observing today, and what we're expected to do as citizens. And beyond that, now that they say we should involve the youth, what should we do as young people when really our role models are the people that we see involved in these alleged corrupt acts every day? Dominic Cecil Hammond is with the Department Chief Investigator, Anti-Corruption Department, which Shrash, yes, Deputy. Yes, yes. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
All right. Beauty Emefanate is Executive Secretary, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
Let's talk about this weekend, what you want us to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mamavi, for having us on this show. We first would like to also say good morning to all your viewers. Ghana appended its signature to what we call the UN Anti-Corruption, UN Convention Against Corruption, which is UNCAC. And it was rectified through the parliamentary process. This was in 2005. And after that, we committed to some few issues that we want to address in terms of fighting corruption. As a result, one of the commitments that was done by UNCAC is marking a day where we commemorate International Anti-Corruption Day, which was marked for 9th December. And since then, Ghana as a country has marked that day. But what has changed today or this week is that after we put together our National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, we are in the 3rd year of implementation. We realized that it is important to bring all stakeholders on board to fight corruption, because corruption cannot be done by one person. We all need to contribute to that. So as a result, for the first time in Ghana's history, we are commemorating a week of events, of activities, to ensure that every stakeholder in Ghana has a role to play in commemorating the week. So we have private sector participating with their activities. We have civil society participating with their activities. We have the public sector participating with their activities. This morning, we are going to witness the launch of the week. And apart from the launch of the week, we are also going to have a panel that is going to discuss Ghana Beyond Aid. And Mamavi, as you and I all know, Ghana can only win itself out of aid if we fight corruption, because statistics clearly show that most of our money goes through corruption, which means that we cannot win ourselves off aid if we are not seriously fighting corruption. And other countries have done it. Previously, we used to compare ourselves to the West. Now we have African countries that have done it, and we think that it can be done. And it's also exciting, I must say, to hear the President, His Excellency, talking about Ghana Beyond Aid, talking about that. We wish to reiterate that it is not just a lip service thing, it is something that we want to see implemented and implemented well. And once that is done, because the leadership is also important.
So how should that reflect?
That should reflect in the key strategies that we use in fighting corruption. The NACAP adopted a 3-pronged approach, which is the preventive, the prosecution, which is in terms of the enforcement. So as part of enforcement, yes, that goal is linked with investigating it and then also ensuring that people are punished for whatever crime they commit under corruption. At the same time, it also has the third element is about awareness creation, which is what we are using this week to refresh our minds on. But as I said, previous administrations have all talked about corruption. We have heard about zero tolerance. We have heard about probity and accountability and all that, but the impact has not reflected. So we are hoping that this time we'll get it right.
Okay.
Fortunately for us, we just passed the law called the Special Prosecutors Act, and we believe that if that is implemented well, it's also going to enhance what we call the enforcement aspect of the approaches.
Okay.
But at the same time, we also need the prevention to also work, because it is important to even prevent it before, you know, by the time you are prosecuting, it means that a lot has been siphoned, a lot has been taken away. And I also want to say here and now that the challenges we've had in terms of fighting corruption is because of the way we have perceived corruption. We see it as too polished in the sense that, instead of, I always use this example. When you hear, even as we are here, and you hear thief, 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 the natural reaction from citizens is to jump and then prevent that thief from taking whatever the thief stole. But if we scream corruption, 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 I don't think people will give the same natural response as they do.
Let me engage the Deputy Chief Investigator at Trash on anti-corruption, or on corruption, if you like. What's been your main challenges as an investigator? I'm curious. And who do you investigate, by the way?
Yeah, thank you very much. We investigate public office holders who are involved in corruption or allegations of corruption. But in our investigations, if we have private entities who allegedly collaborated with the public office holders in committing those offenses, then we rope them in as well. But per the law, basically it's for public office holders. And the challenge is funding. Yes.
That's the general funding of Trash.
Yes, yes. Sometimes it's difficult to get the resources that you need to do whatever you are supposed to do. And even apart from the investigation, my sister has spoken about the three-pronged approaches. Yeah. We also have to do a lot of public education, so that even before we investigate or before we get cases to investigate, the public should be aware of what Straj is doing. But if we are not able to educate the public on the mandate of Straj, on what Straj is doing, and even some of the laws, the anti-corruption laws like whistleblower and all that, if we are not able to do that, it means people are not even aware. So they don't come to us the way we expect them to come. So basically it's funding.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But when we talk about corruption, we usually look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And we straight away go to public officials.
Yeah.
We've seen with some of the reports that the office in charge of, if you like, editing public records, we've seen that sometimes when people use public funds, they are made to refund. Does that fall under what we're looking at in terms of corruption?
Yes, it is part of the strategy.
The refund.
Yes, it's part of it. We have what we call plea bargain.
But how is that a deterrent for, somebody who is sitting back and watching? Let me also get the opportunity to go to that office. I'll use the funds. By the time I'm done, I would have put up a house. I'll do some investment. After all, when they check the books and they come back to me, I'll refund, and I've made some good interest on it.
Actually, I wanted to add to that. The challenge with that is that, as you rightly said, it doesn't serve as a deterrent, because then citizens or the public feel that I can take it and replace it. But it shouldn't be so. That's why we are emphasizing on the punishment aspect as well. And until the three-pronged approaches are done interlinked.
So the strategy going forward, what you're
Yes.
saying is for us to use the three at the same time.
Exactly, not only emphasize on one, because when somebody is made to pay, you should be paying at interest, so that serves as a natural deterrent. For instance, if I pick 100 cedis today from an office and I'm made to pay the same 100 cedis, even if you look at the bank rates, the interest accrues. So if I'm supposed to pay back, then I should pay with the current interest
Even that's
rate. Yes, that is one. After paying, and then it's also a crime, because apart from the payments, then the crime that has been committed should also be punished. For instance, the judges that Anas recorded receiving bribe, most of them lost their job, which is one aspect of it. But the aspect of being punished for receiving bribe has not been done. We are yet to witness that. We are yet to see any of the judges being jailed, for taking bribe. And that, for me, would be another step in ensuring that it serves as a natural deterrent. Losing job is not enough. You need to be punished for the act per what the law prescribes.
Ms. Hammond, I wonder what you make of this.
Yes. What I will add is that the refunding such money is just an aspect of the whole thing.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that everybody who steals money from government coffers will just be made to refund and go free. No, it depends. It could be an aspect of corruption. Let's say it could be misappropriation, it could be misapplication. Maybe the person didn't intend to steal the money as such, but the person misappropriated the money. This is different from somebody actually stealing money. If somebody has stolen money, I don't think that we want to opt for this option of just refund and be free. Otherwise, anybody who steals goods in the market, we ask the person to refund and just go free. So this is just an aspect. And this also encourages refund or recouping government money that has gone into wrong hands. So it's just an aspect, but it's not in totality what we are supposed to do when somebody steals government money.
Are we able to say and put a number to the number of people, officials, that are being investigated today for alleged acts of corruption?
In Ghana, we don't have only one anti-corruption agency. We have several of them. Shraj, police, Yoko. So I will not be able to say.
But if we're talking about Shraj, seeing as that's where you're coming from.
Number of people.
Are you busy?
We are very busy.
Because we've been talking about corruption, and there are people that we can point at least we perceive that they are corrupt.
We are busy. Just that for some time now, we've not come out with some of our decisions. We have a lot of decisions pending. And maybe from January we'll start releasing some of the decisions. We are busy, actually. But the anti-corruption department it's a small department compared with the others. We have anti-corruption, we have administrative justice, and we have human rights. The anti-corruption department is a smaller department. So sometimes the load is so much. But we are still working. We are very busy.
But you're still calling for more people to come forward to try.
Yes, but it's not only the head office alone which handles corruption cases. We are all over the regions. We have the districts, we have the region. They also do corruption cases. So definitely when the cases come, we handle them, and that's what we are doing.
Are the officers in charge who are, if you like, leading the cause for punishments and justice, are they clean themselves?
Well, that would be difficult to say because you need evidence to come to such a conclusion. But the challenges we have actually about the people, some of the people who lead some of the anti-corruption institutions is that they are politically appointed. And that also becomes a challenge, especially when they have to deal with issues that affect the one who appointed them and is linked directly that becomes a little challenging. So when you talk about independence of those, sometimes we see some of the officers becoming very active when there's a change of government, and you ask yourself, what were they doing before? For instance, earlier this year, we saw how GRA came up with issues regarding the former president's brother, and then you wonder, how come this didn't come under the former president's administration? But why are we hearing it now during the change of government? We have seen Iyoko taking a number of steps this year, which we didn't see previously. So I think that is one of the key challenges we have, having systems working independently of the executive and working without necessarily being cajoled or feel that there's fear, for the executive. I think that's one of the challenges we have regarding the officers, but not necessarily saying that they are corrupt themselves. That will be difficult to come to.
The special prosecutor's office that you did make reference to, that officer is also going to be appointed by the executive. Yes.
Mama V, if you followed us closely, it's one of the issues that we thought that to cure that perception that the executive is appointing and maybe controlling, we actually push for the need to have open and competitive recruitment of the special prosecutor, because as a country, this is the first time we are witnessing something of that sort, and we thought that for once, let's try another method of doing it. In that way, it could even give people the sense of confidence that this is not just one of the appointees of president, and also to cure that mischief that it's a witch hunter, because that's what the opposition are currently saying, that this person is coming to witch hunt them. So we thought that if you have an open and competitive process, some countries, like for instance Kenya, have a similar, where they even have citizens' view incorporated in the appointment. But we had proposed that you could have a committee of stakeholders, the media, civil society, traditional authority, religious group, all being part of the initial process, and then they, any Ghanaian home or abroad could apply for that position, and then they screen and propose 3 candidates to the Attorney General for nomination and consideration, so that when one is selected, it doesn't look like the president's favorite could also apply. But once you go for a job interview and you have the confidence that I got it through a process which is not just being appointed, it gives you more confidence in terms of being independent of whoever you are reporting to.
But
that was not done. That was not done. Unfortunately, that was not done. And the Act only has Parliament majority, endorsement. And if majority,
it's the same,
yes, because the majority is still the majority in power.
So how then are we hopeful that when there's a special prosecutor in place, we will be at least fighting the punishment aspect, or the justice aspect?
That is where we all have a role to play. For instance, we are committed to monitoring even the implementation of the Act in terms of recruitment of the senior officers. We want to see how it is done per the Act, so that there's no deviation. We also want to see how the other officers, the establishment of the whole office, we want to see that. And we also feel that when the special prosecutor is recruited, he shouldn't see it as a job that he's doing for the executive, but he should be accountable to the Ghanaian citizens, so that in terms of information, we should be updated on information frequently. I think that would also give everybody the sense of confidence. So we are hopeful that if some steps are taken, it will give us some openness to the work and then to the activities. And also we should see a balance. It should not be a special prosecutor only coming to prosecute only crime that has, or corruption that has been
that has happened in
the previous administration, but it should be complemented with whatever is happening now. And that also would be another way of assuring Ghanaians that I am working for everyone and not for one.
Yeah. Mr. Hammond, you know the cases that you are confronted with. Can you just give us just a little, let's appreciate the kind of cases that you're confronted with?
Yes, we have cases on misappropriation of public funds. We have corruption generally. We have abuse of office, abuse of power, which will also lead into corruption. And some of this translates, or most of this translates to loss of public funds. A government agency will be given money to do A, B, or C, and the money will be used for something else, which will eventually go into somebody's private pocket. Somebody may award a contract to a favorite without going through the due tender process, and all that. And at the end of the day, you find that the contract sum is inflated, something of that. So these are some of the things that we are doing. Most of them coming from the district assemblies, because these assemblies, they handle a lot of money. So sometimes it's easy for them to misuse it for all sorts of things without properly accounting for them. So these are some of the things that.
So what would funding do to your specific departments if you had enough funding?
Sometimes the research that you have to do, if you don't have the resources, let's say equipment, you go to our offices, some don't have computers, internet access and all that. We also have to monitor some of these reports of allegation in the media. But if you don't have internet facilities in your office, it becomes a problem. And in most of our offices throughout the regions, you don't have them. So it means an officer should use his or her own resources, buy his or her own modem to access some of this information. And sometimes it becomes difficult. And also, if you have to visit places, there is a case you are investigating, you have to go there yourself and find out how things are, and even make a search, inspect books and all that. You don't have it, because maybe you go and sleep over or spend some days, the money is not there. So there's a tendency to wait. And since we are not criminal investigators, a policeman or BNI man will just come to your office and just pick the books he wants to, the books that he wants to view or see, and takes them to the office and do all that. But we don't have that power. And the moment we wait, it has a tendency of the person being investigated, covering up or doing a whole lot of things, because it's a civil investigation, not criminal investigation where you can just come and carry everything. So time will also count. If you don't act at the time you ought to act, then a lot of things will happen.
And wrapping up the conversation with what we've heard, you're still encouraging us to be hopeful.
Yes.
Okay, so finally, what should we do?
Okay. I would want to call on every Ghanaian to perceive corruption as stealing from us. And corruption is not just about stealing money. Corruption goes beyond that. There's abuse of office that is happening every day. There are people who are misappropriating funds. There is a whole lot that is being done. But if we all see it as it's robbing us as a nation of our destiny, it's robbing posterity of whatever we need to leave behind for them, then it gives us the courage and confidence to be able to support in preventing corruption. We can push for prevention as citizens because we witness corruption every day. We see it happening every day. We know the people who perpetuate these. We could play a key role in preventing it and then support the enforcement agencies and ensure that they also do their work. I would also want to call on citizens to also participate in this week's activities as a way of committing to the fight against corruption. We are going to have regional floats in all the regional capitals, and fortunately for us, we are working with the police. And Mama V, it's interesting to see the commitment of the current IGP to fight corruption in the police. And the police are going to join the march. They are going to carry placards. Some of the inscriptions saying that...
this week?
This week, okay. Yes. I mean on the 9th.
Okay.
Yes, in the regions. Carrying placards saying that corruption, jail is free. And then report police misconduct to the PIPs.
Okay.
In their own uniform, carrying such placards is also a motivation to citizens that once you see the police carrying that and he's demanding bribe from you, then you have a good picture to paint to him the day you saw him carrying that placard.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll continue with this conversation indeed throughout the week. Thank you so much for joining us here on our show. Dominic Cecil Hammond is Deputy Chief Investigator, Anti-Corruption Department with Trash. We wish you well with your low funding. We've been talking. Hopefully, you know, you will get you get a good amount. Beauty and Fanate is Executive Secretary with the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. I have a sticker at the back of my car which says, "I don't bribe the police." It was given to me by the police.
And we have to do entertainment. Joy FM's annual Old School Reunion. It happened over the weekend at the Ghana International Trade Fair Center here in Accra. And it was with a lot of exciting activities. This year's edition once again brought back incredible nostalgia back from the good old days. And there were activities such as the eating competition, you all remember, inter-schools quiz, drama competition, as well as other performances from some of notable music stars. Check out the highlights.
right by some alpha. Where the girl want? Champagne. By the bar, me no complain. Bike here, soon by plane. This type of girl, give my grain. Some girl them thing, boy insane. Every day, make money rain. This type of girl, in a yard lane. Somebody them bar, will you sing game? No game. Na fagabaji, na do gaba yashi. Kaka nuchu faga dodo lenchi. Agba na fagaba akle de chi. Special delivery. Nyegilo, nyegbe, nyegilo, nyegbe.
And that's it for the show this morning. We hope that you enjoy every bit of it. And please make sure that you keep your interactivity ongoing for the rest of the day, because we have a lot more on the channel. Well, please catch us live on Facebook, JoyNews on TV. We also have a Twitter handle at JoyNews on TV. And we have a regular channel on YouTube where we stream always live. Please, bye-bye. Have a great morning. And we know that we're starting a great week. Bye.